Jacob Miller was reggae's brightest star, until his tragic death revealed a shocking family secret. The untold story of how his cousin became a global icon, Maxi Priest. His uncle ruled UK charts, and his nephew revolutionized hip-hop, Heavy D. This musical dynasty was buried for decades, until now. Watch till the end. Born on the 4th of May, 1952, in the undisturbed hills of Mandeville, nestled within Jamaica's Manchester Parish, Jacob was a vessel of heritage steeped in melody. His mother, June Ashman, a choir singer whose voice could tame the wildest storm, and his father, Sidney Elliot, a virtuoso musician, were not just parents. They were the architects of an inheritance that would pulse through his veins like a relentless drumbeat. Yet Jacob's life was not born of stability. The rift between June Ashman and Sidney Elliot cracked wide open soon after Jacob's birth, and Sidney, driven perhaps by longing or by the raw pull of opportunity, became one of the thousands swept up in the post-war Windrush exodus to the United Kingdom. Alongside him journeyed his younger brother, Alfred Elliot, bound for the tangled streets of Lewisham in southeast London. The Elliot brothers would split their fates. Alfred bent his back in factory work, while Sidney, unshackled and ambitious, chased music through the pubs and clubs, squeezing melody from hardship. While Sidney's ambitions unfolded under London's leaden skies, Jacob was tethered to the pulse of Jamaica, staying with his mother in Mandeville. Life was harsh, yet Jacob's heart was stitched with rhythms, and even as a child, his talent refused to lie dormant. Fate, however, demanded more movement. In 1960, June Ashman, seeking a better life, migrated to New York, leaving Jacob behind to the care of an aunt who ran a hotel on Russell Road in Kingston. If Mandeville birthed Jacob's heartbeat, Kingston refined it, baptizing him in the city's intoxicating cacophony of ska, reggae, and rocksteady. At just 16, Jacob Miller carved his way into Studio One, convincing the legendary Clement Coxzone to give him a try. His voice, a weapon of raw emotion, caught the ear of Augustus Pablo, and from there, Jacob's name began its slow, steady burn across Kingston. No longer merely Jacob Kyla Miller. He was Jacob Miller now, a name soon to be etched into the island's musical marrow. While Jacob forged his path, Sidney Elliot was no longer the struggling musician in London's smoky dens. He had tasted success, signing a record deal with Spark Records and releasing hits like Strawberry Blonde and Who That Girl. These songs stormed through London's nightclubs, brushing against the UK charts in 1969 and opening the floodgates for a greater alliance with CBS Records. Sidney's voice became an anthem for lost souls navigating the grim realities of post-war England. Meanwhile, Alfred Elliot found his solace in a quieter life, marrying Sylvia Elliot, a nurse whose own bloodline was tied to the same soil of St. Elizabeth's Parish where the Elliot brothers were first rooted. Their son, Maxwell Elliot, born in 1961, was already swelling with music, his voice finding its first sanctuary in the hallowed walls of a church choir. But the web of this family saga was more intricate than mere bloodlines. Sylvia's sister, Eulalie, a nurse who moved to Mandeville, stitched another thread into this tapestry when she married Clifford Myers, a technician. Their union bore Dwight Arrington Myers, a boy whose destiny would yank him across oceans. The family uprooted to Mount Vernon, New York in 1972, just as Clive Campbell, known to the world as DJ Kool Herc, was sparking the nascent fires of hip-hop in the Bronx. Dwight would grow up marinated in this rebellion, inhaling the cadence of a culture that would soon sweep the globe. Jacob Miller's stardom, meanwhile, blazed across Jamaica. Inner Circle found their missing piece in Jacob, a collision of talents that ignited an unstoppable fire. With hits like Tired Faye, Lick Urban, A Bush, and Tenement Yard, Inner Circle's reach grew colossal. Jacob Miller was no longer merely a musician. He was a phenomenon, a presence so magnetic he shared a throne with Bob Marley in the 1970s pantheon of reggae royalty. The silver screen beckoned, and in 1978, Jacob dazzled in the cult classic Rockers, each scene he touched ignited by his infectious charisma. As Inner Circle signed with Island Records and launched albums like Everything Is Great and New Age Music, Maxwell Elliot was quietly crafting his own ascent. At 19, the boy known as Maxi was working as a carpenter, but the hammer and nails could not silence his soul's hunger. Music was his inheritance, and the siren song of his bloodline was impossible to ignore. His idols, Dennis Brown, his uncle Sidney Elliot, and Jacob Miller, whispered to him from every melody. Yet Maxi was unaware of the deepest connection. The singer he revered, the voice that shaped his dreams, Jacob Miller, was not a distant god but a blood cousin, the first son of his own Uncle Sidney Elliot. The truth had been hidden, perhaps by pride or fear, until February 1980, when Sidney Elliot, weary of secrecy, finally laid it bare. Jacob Miller was family. For Maxi, this revelation was a revelation of biblical weight. To discover that your musical idol shares your blood, that your dreams and your DNA are tangled with greatness. It was a surge of inspiration that could have lifted mountains. He dreamed of the day he would meet Jacob, of the music they might make, of the bond they might forge. But fate, ever cruel, had other plans. Barely a month later, Jacob Miller was snatched away by death. A brutal car accident took him down in March 1980. The tragedy shattered not just the Miller and Elliot families, but the world of reggae itself. Maxi mourned not merely a lost idol, but a cousin he would never know. His grief fermented into anger, aimed squarely at Sidney Elliot for the silence that had stolen precious years. Still, from pain was born purpose. Maxi Priest, as he would now be known, poured his soul into his music. In 1984, he inked a deal with Virgin Records, and in 1985, unleashed You're Safe, his debut album, a haunting, electrifying testament to his lineage. The world responded. Maxi Priest's scaled heights Jacob had only glimpsed, becoming the first reggae artist to claim a #1 song on the US Billboard charts with Close to You in 1990. His success was not merely his own, but a vindication of the blood that had flowed unrecognized between two continents. Meanwhile, on American soil, the echoes of Jacob Miller's family tree continued to reverberate. Dwight Myers, the boy who had inhaled the embryonic breaths of hip-hop in Mount Vernon, was now known to the world as Heavy D. At 19, Dwight formed Heavy D and the Boys, landing a record deal with Uptown Records in 1987. His rise was meteoric, his influence undeniable. Dwight Myers became one of hip-hop's most beloved figures, a titan whose voice and presence transformed the culture he loved. Jacob Miller's life, truncated though it was, did not die with him. It exploded outward, rippling through the lives of those connected to him by blood and by fate. His legacy lived in Maxi Priest's golden chords and in Heavy D's powerful verses. It lived in the streets of Kingston, in the heart of Lewisham, in the pulse of Mount Vernon. It lived wherever music was a lifeline, a rebellion, a prayer. Jacob Miller was not meant to last long. Some souls are too incandescent for this world. He was laughter and fire, melody and chaos, a man who seemed stitched together not from flesh and bone, but from the pure, undiluted essence of music itself. His story was never meant to be a simple one. It was a sprawling epic written in the clash of drums, the wail of a tenor, and the heartbreak of those left to carry his light. The family he came from, June Ashman, Sidney Elliot, Alfred Elliot, Sylvia Elliot, Maxwell Elliot, Olali Myers, Clifford Myers, Dwight Myers. Each was a note in a song far bigger than any single life. Jacob Miller was the chorus, the refrain that tied them all together, a reminder that greatness is rarely an accident. It is a legacy passed down through struggle, through loss, through the inexorable pull of destiny. In the end, Jacob Miller was not simply a musician. He was a living testament to the untamable spirit of a people, a culture, and a family who refused to be silenced. His was not a life measured by its length, but by its resonance, an echo that continues to roar, unbroken and eternal, through every song sung in his memory. What part of Jacob Miller's story stood out to you the most? His rise, his hidden family ties, or the legacy he unknowingly passed down? How do you think music and family intertwine to shape greatness? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more untold histories about the legends who changed the world, don't forget to subscribe. More powerful stories are coming your way.